Hello, everybody. Welcome to this moment, wherever you are right now. Let's just relax, take a deep breath, acknowledge our sweet bodies. And I also want to acknowledge you. Thank you for joining us. We are in our weekly 10-minute news and update segment on all these different fun places. And today I have a guest. I have with me Nihan Sevinç. And I just wanted to bring Nihan on because I was looking at this whole energy of how, sometimes you have these big dreams and desires, and they could also be big, but not so obviously big. Like it could be big for you, something as simple as I'd like to get my bars run every day. Who here has had that sort of like an ask in their world? And then what I see a lot of us, I have done it in the past. I wonder if you guys have to, hola, hola, hello, everybody, just reading comments in between. But I wonder if you've done that too, where you relegate these asks and desires that you have to either the future or to fantasy or to, I wish I could. So we sort of like, instead of just claiming our asks, claiming our desires, and just going for it, we sometimes just relegate them. So I loved Nihan. Nihan shared a videos a few weeks ago, I think, talking about how she sort of outcreated that with herself in terms of one of the things she wanted to have was more body work, more bars in her life. And so she sort of outcreated that and outcreated all the reasons that we have on why we cannot. Hello, we have people coming from Portugal. We'd love to say hello to you. We can see your comments here. But Nihan, I'd love to hear more from you about, how are you using bars? I know you mentioned that it has changed not just your reality, but your business and your partner's business as well. So tell us more.
Thank you, Ava. First, are we allowed to run bars every day? Are we allowed to ask for that? Wait a minute. So that was actually my reaction when I love bars. Bars have changed my life. Running bars often. When I learned bars 3 years ago, I thought, okay, well, I've lived my entire life without these tools. And now that I have them, I'd like more of this in my life. And I went into limitation of like, how is this going to happen? I'm one single person. It's COVID time. Nobody wants to touch each other. How am I ever going to find people who would like to run bars? And then my facilitator was hosting gifting and receivings every week. So I started going to those. And then I started meeting other bars practitioners there. And I started pinging them like, shall we run bars? So I started getting, 2, 3 times a week. I knew what it was creating. It wiped away my PTSD. That's my experience. It made my life greater. And then at some point, I knew my body was asking for more bars. The thing about bars, I wonder what your experience is. When you don't get your bars run for a certain time, it starts feeling like, well, this is life for some reason. Life's this thing. It's not ease, joy, and glory. It's a myth. And then when you get your bars, I'm like, oh, this space. So I wanted more of this space in my life.
Mm.
But I had excuses. I was like, I don't think I can ask for bars every day. And then I saw other people running bars every day. Heather Nichols, Julie Kalkinen, Maya Diane. They posted on Facebook, like, oh yeah, I run bars every day. I was like, wait, is that allowed? Can we ask for that? So that's how it started. I was like, what would it take to have bars every day? Like, what would that create?
That's awesome. I love, how so many times when we see somebody else choose what they're choosing, we sort of like judge ourselves against where they are right now, against what they've got going, maybe in their business, maybe in their relationship, maybe how they're getting their bars run every day, or whatever it is that they're choosing. And it can be so easy to like judge ourselves and then like buy into a bunch of our own stories and reasons and justifications for why we cannot choose what we want to choose. So I love that you, instead of looking at that and being, and I wonder, did you when you saw people choose something different, did you immediately were like, I'll have that and let's go for it? Or was there a process for you where you were like, maybe it's easy for them, but I don't know if I can have it? Like, how was that for you?
Thank you. Yes, total vulnerability. The first thing I had was, oh, I'd like that. My body lit up. I've known this for years. My body was asking for bars every day. And then I immediately went to, of course, Heather can receive bars and body processes every day. She has a team. Of course, Maya gets her bars run every day. Her husband runs bars. Her kids run bars. I went to excuses of how they can do it and I can't choose it. How I'm so pathetic and it will never work. And then I caught myself. I was like, wait a minute. This is exactly when I need to get my bars run and use my tools. So catching that, the excuses I was making. And then I realized, there was a time where it was during a time where people were staying away from each other and I lived alone and I didn't have anyone in my quote unquote bubble. That's when I had an ask, like, I'd like more of this in my life, and it showed up. And then I thought, why wouldn't I choose that and allow the universe to show me again? There was vulnerability in that. It's like, what if I ask for it and it doesn't show up? Then is it going to be my failure? Or is it this like 30-day challenge kind of thing, which I am terrible at? Raise your hand if you're terrible at the consistency of things. So for me, I got to approach this from this place of like, what would it be like? Is that going to create career? And that energy there, that like something that lit up my body, that's what I started following.
Yeah.
From curiosity, because when something turns into an obligation, I'll be out of the room. Raise your hand if you do that as well. So it's really being in the joy of creation of like, what would it create?
Yeah.
Have more access body processes, more bars in my life. So that's how it started.
I love that. I love that because, one of the things that really stands out for me from everything you're saying here, Nihan, and this is for all of you guys, asking the kind of questions that give you a greater sense of awareness of what you would desire. Like looking at an energy and perceiving, hey, I'd like to have that. Even that acknowledgement is a stepping stone to a completely different outlook and perspective that could, if you change your perspective, then, like we say, your point of view creates your reality. And when you change your perspective or your point of view, you could change whatever it is that's going on in your world. And that's where, like, sort of bars and access bars, body work, and all of these classes, I find that's what they're inviting us to. That's what they're contributing to having more of for you, that choice of that you can, that awareness of that you can choose, actually, not just as an idea, but actually, like, who here might have ever looked at someone, let's say here in the world of access, who's a facilitator, and be like, wouldn't it be so awesome to do that? But then there were all of these quote unquote pragmatic, practical, whatever things that the mind wants you to believe that are the reasons that you cannot choose. What if you made all of that irrelevant? And to that, like, hi to everybody. We have people joining from Portugal, Mexico, India, Texas, Ukraine. So nice to have you guys here. What if you guys, one of the things that always blows me apart is The Place, the book, The Place, that Gary Douglas wrote many, 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 many tens of years ago, actually, a couple of tens of years ago, if not more. And he, in that, talks about this place that he perceived. And if you've been around and if you've heard of El Lugar, which is basically a resort style retreat place that Gary has created along with a lot of other magnificent creators in the Costa Rica, that's sort of like a huge translation of, he was aware of this energy, he channeled it as a book, and he kept engaging. He didn't like relegate it as, okay, cool, that was nice, but, or whatever. But what whispers are you aware of that are actually actualizable? And actually, speaking of The Place, I also want to invite you guys, if you've checked out, Gary's actually doing a book club in August. He himself is doing a book club on The Place. So you guys can find out about that or any other classes that are coming up on accessconsciousness.com/what's up. And yeah, so, and I know, Nihan, that you're in a space in your life where you're making choices that you're listening to those whispers right now. And the fun fact is that we often don't know the how, like how often, who here has ever gotten stuck with how, but how am I ever going to do that? Right? So, what if how was irrelevant? And I'll tell you what, you will know the how always on a retrospect. When you've already walked that journey and you turn around, you will know how you did that. But how is a very unuseful question we often get stuck with. That, does it really move the needle forward? And so what does? So, Nihan, like, before we wrap up today's sort of like invitation and news and updates section, what would you like people, what would you like to say to everyone and invite people to, uh, from that space of when you have a demand of something different be available for you and you don't yet know how? What is that like for you? Because I know that you're actively choosing that these days. So, how's that like for you?
It's so fun. It's more fun than the linear journey that I was making myself go on. So I was like, oh, I've chosen enough. Now it's about configuring how this works. And then getting my bars on every day for like 100 and something days got me to this space where I realized all these energies I was asking for in my life I wasn't choosing. It was like jumping, very uncomfortable and vulnerable. And then realizing we have these amazing tools. What if we actually use whatever pops? Just pick one thing to have your back and ask for it anyways. Ask for the energy that you'd like to have and then allow the universe to show you. That's what we're on right now. We gave notice to our apartment. My partner left his full-time job. We're on an adventure. We don't know all the steps figured out, but there is this energy present in my life that I cannot deny that is pulling me. So what is it that you would like to have more of in your life? And what if you didn't have to figure it out? I'm really excited. It's like, can we all do this together? You're choosing what you're choosing. You do what works for you. Don't do what works for me, because this is what works for me, and it changes every day for me as well. I can't recreate what worked for me yesterday. I have to ask what works today, what would create greater today. I feel like we're a whole bunch of kindergartners, and we have these amazing tools, and the world is our playground. So let's play.
I love that. Thank you so much, Nihan. I love that you have been getting your bars run every day. And it wasn't linear in a way that you could have ever predicted. It was a choice that you made based on a possibility that you perceived. And it's not just one choice, it's one choice after the other, and the other, and the other. So, what one choice can you guys make today that would create the future that you have been asking for and contribute the universe to allow it to contribute to you? Because we gotta do our side of equation with the asks that we make and the choices that we follow through on based on those asks, and the universe is contributing to us all the time too. So thank you so much for joining me today, Nihan. Thank you guys so much, from all over the world, and truly what else is possible. Stay tuned for more updates on what's coming, what's up, and your dose of little bit of inspiration towards, hey, yes, you can. Come on. Listen to that whisper, make that choice, and trust what you know. All right, you guys, have fun. Bye bye. Thank you for joining us.